Hi, everyone. My name is Erin. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Student Recruitment Officer at the UBC Vancouver campus. I'd like to acknowledge the land that UBC has built its Vancouver campus on, which we work, learn, connect, and innovate, is the unceded ancestral and traditional territory of the Musqueam peoples. I'd like to start today by introducing my colleague Tamara, and we're going to present to you a little bit about engineering before we get started with our amazing speakers and our design challenge and everything else that we have going on for you today.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see all of your little name blurbs pop up in today. My name is Tamara and my pronouns are she, her. I'm an engineering academic advisor at the UBC Okanagan campus, which is situated on the territory of the Silk Okanagan Nation and their peoples. I'd also like to acknowledge that you're joining us today from many places near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands as well. So as we get into it, what is an engineer? Engineering is such a fantastic career to consider. So today we're going to dive into what engineering is all about. Today we have an alumni and many students to share their experiences with you about why engineering is such a great career option. So as we get started, we're in this presenter mode, but I want it to be a little bit interactive. So get ready to use the chat. So what I mean by that is if you're at a computer, get your fingers close to your keyboard. If you're on a phone or tablet, get ready to type something in. So in the chat, I'd like you to put, so when you think of an engineer, what are some of the things you think engineers might have created, innovated, or invented that are useful for our lives? So I'd love to hear some feedback from you. So like I said, get your thinking caps on and put something in the chat that you think are some of the things that engineers might have created, innovated, or invented that are useful for our lives. And I'll just take a look at some of the answers that are coming in. So first one that pops up, computers. Exactly, that's how most of us are even logging in today. Medical devices that we commonly use, awesome. Vacuum cleaners, I use mine all the time. Bridges, great answer. Bridges, cars, we have STEM engines, electricity, awesome. Planes, everything around us. Okay, that's an amazing answer. So many things are created by engineers. So this is just a really great way to kind of engage with you and see kind of your answers on how we think engineers are contributing in our lives. Engineers are really, it's one of the most applicable careers that you can be part of change and have meaningful impact. So it's a field where you can do work to improve how people live, how things function, and improve our world. Engineers are problem solvers, and they like to make things more efficient, more sustainable, easier to communicate, improve lives through things like assistive technology, and so much more. Some examples of engineering research happening right here at UBC include designing safer buildings to withstand natural disasters like earthquakes, water treatment to provide clean drinking water to communities, energy sectors such as batteries and newer sustainable methods of energy production, areas in medicine such as regenerative medicine, biomechanics and injury prevention, and genetic engineering. Engineering is so diverse in its applications in so many different areas of our life. And engineers are able to do these things because they're always working as part of a team. The more diverse our teams are, the better our teams can function. Diversity on teams let us solve problems that impact the entire world's population, not just a part of it. UBC Engineering and Gearing Up both do outreach to promote and expose engineering to underrepresented populations like girls and Indigenous students so that our teams of students and future workforces can be more diverse. However, I do want to mention that our admission process here at UBC is gender blind, which means anyone admitted into our program has been admitted on their own merit. We're not filling ratios. We're continually working to host more events like this today to provide safe spaces and representative role models to increase the number of women applying to our programs so that we can continue towards gender parity in our engineering programs. And I'm going to pass it back over to Erin to talk a little bit about our programs.
Thanks so much, Tamara. So as you can tell from our areas of research, there are many different kinds of engineering that you can go into. At UBC, the Bachelor of Applied Science, which is our engineering degree, has a general first year where you learn your basic math, science, and engineering principles. Then you get to apply for the type of engineering that you want to go into to start in second year. Engineering is offered at both of our campuses, the Okanagan campus in Kelowna and the Vancouver campus. Both are beautiful campuses that offer great engineering programs, and the main difference that you'll find is the engineering disciplines offered at each campus. At the Okanagan campus, there are 4 specializations: civil, electrical, manufacturing, and mechanical engineering. But within each, you can further specialize by choosing an option like resilient infrastructure, biomedical, or aerospace. There are also no caps on the disciplines at the Okanagan campus. You can begin in whichever you're interested in during your second year. At the Vancouver campus, we have 14 different engineering programs that you can specialize in, with some of the programs offering options and streams to further specialize. A lot of our courses and research overlap in the different programs since engineering is very interdisciplinary. So several of these disciplines can lead to the same field of work or even to the same job. You'll learn about each discipline in your first year of engineering during the foundational first year. And at the end of your first year, you'll go through the competitive placement process to begin your discipline in second year at the Vancouver campus. So I know that we have a lot of grade 12 students that have already applied to UBC, and that's awesome to have you here today, but we also have some students in grade 10 and 11. So you should plan to apply to UBC in your grade 12 year or the year before you plan to begin at UBC. So maybe you're planning to take a year off, that's fine. You're welcome to wait to apply until you're kind of ready to start UBC that following September. We highly encourage you to apply before December 1st, but the final deadline is typically January 15th. Applications to begin in September 2024 will open this coming October. So in addition to meeting UBC's English language requirement, UBC also has general requirements that all students need to meet, and that includes graduating from high school and the recommendation to take at least 6 courses at the grade 12 level. The degree-specific requirements of the Okanagan campus include these grade 12 courses listed here. So that's English, pre-calculus, chemistry, and physics. I have some of the different provinces requirements listed here, but you can also go to the website if you are an international student or studying in a province outside of these 3 listed. So this slide is specific for the Okanagan campus. Whereas at the Vancouver campus, you'll see that requirements are a little bit different. They're very similar. However, there's an additional general requirement to meet a minimum of 70% in grade 11 or grade 12 English. And the degree-specific requirements are also just a little bit different. You'll notice that BC students at the Vancouver campus require a language at the grade 11 level. And another difference is that while you should plan to have both chemistry and physics 12, you can be admitted with only one of them to the Vancouver campus. The degree-specific requirements listed here are kind of like a checklist that need to be completed by the end of your grade 12 year, but they do not need to be completed before you apply. For admission, UBC will look at all of the grade 11 and grade 12 courses that you've completed, not just the courses listed on the screen here.
Okay, so once you apply, there are so many different things that you can look forward to here at UBC during your time. So from the very start of your degree, you'll be exposed to hands-on design projects where you work in teams with other first-year students. You'll also have courses year after year that continue to build on those projects and that team-based learning experience, culminating in your final year with your capstone design project, where you and your peers will work with industry partners to solve real-life problems. Many of our students will even secure job offers from the capstone projects that they work on. Later on in your degree, you can customize your studies by choosing to pursue a minor or a dual degree. So everything on this slide is not a requirement, but it'll allow you to have a secondary focus if you're interested. I kind of like to call these degree enhancements. So they're all optional, but they can enrich your degree. You'll also have the opportunity, pardon me, to gain paid work experience through our optional co-op program, which is the largest in Western Canada. And you can apply for that at the beginning of your second or third year, which would gain you up to 20 months, so almost 2 years of paid work experience during your degree time. You may also consider going abroad to work, research, or study in your third year. You can also be paid to work in a research lab. So you can start your own research project and even present it in our multidisciplinary undergraduate research conference that takes place across UBC every year, featuring thousands of students and their research projects. All of our students always tell me their favorite part of UBC engineering is the amazing community you get to be a part of. So of course there's community in your coursework. But right when the time that you enter UBC engineering, you get support systems like our first year orientations and have the opportunity to get involved with so many different clubs, which is an amazing way to connect with your peers. So beyond design teams and the Engineering Undergrad Society, We also have equity, diversity, inclusion, and indigeneity clubs, which are student-led groups that you can get involved in if you're part of an underrepresented community within engineering.
So if you want to get connected to our community after today, I encourage you to start a chat with one of our UBC engineering ambassadors. These are current students from both campuses that you can talk to about student life at UBC. You will have a lot of time today to also connect with our current students that are volunteering, but this is just an option to keep in mind after today if you want to continue to keep that conversation going. A lot of our volunteers here today are some of our ambassadors. You can talk to them specifically, but we also have other ambassadors on our website that you can start a chat with. So we have lots going on today. You'll get to hear from alumni, current students, participate in a design challenge. And at the end of the event, there will be time to hang out in breakout rooms with our current students so that you can ask them all of your questions about what life is like as a UBC engineering student. To help us out with some of our breakout rooms today, we ask that you please change your Zoom name to your first name and your grade level, and then you're welcome to also include your pronouns if you would like to. So if I were to do that for me, I would just have Erin, I would have maybe something like grade 10 or just 10, and then I could put my pronouns at the end of that. So if you could work on doing that. If you aren't sure, or if you have never used or renamed yourself in Zoom, how to do so is that if you click on the participants panel, you'll be able to look for your name. If you hover over your name, you should then see 3 dots. If you click on that button of 3 dots, it should give you an option to rename yourself. So over the next few minutes or so, if you can work on renaming yourself, I see some of you are starting to do that already, which is awesome. Again, just your first name, your grade level, and then you're welcome to include your pronouns if you'd like to. For our volunteers, our current UBC engineering students that are here today, please remember to also rename yourself per the naming convention that we sent out to you. All right, so that concludes our presentation. There's some great resources on the screen, but we can share those with you again later on today. I am going to stop sharing and get set up so that we can introduce you to some of our alumni.
Okay, thanks, Erin. So you've all come here today and there's lots of components to the event. And the first portion, besides our presentation, is learning a little bit more from our alumni. So unfortunately, one of our alumni speakers couldn't be here tonight because she had to work on some additional testing for a work project. So super applicable to engineering. But she was able to send a quick video to share more about herself and what she does specifically as an engineer. So I will kick over to this video soon, but I want to introduce Nadine Tay, who graduated a few years ago from Materials Engineering program on the Vancouver campus.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me today, and I'm sorry I can't be there with you, but I'm glad I'm able to share this short video. So my name is Nadine Tay, and I'm an engineer in training, and I graduated from UBC in 2020 from Materials Engineering. I currently work for Tech Resources as a project coordinator. One of the reasons that I chose to do engineering was because I love problem solving and I love numbers. And so initially I chose to do materials engineering because I was interested in the aerospace industry, but that kind of quickly changed. Once I got more familiar with the program, I started to realize that I was actually more interested in the mineral processing side, and that's what opened up the doors for me to get into the mining industry. And so the company that I work for right now is based in Vancouver, where I'm involved in 2 projects that focuses mainly in copper. And so my role as a project coordinator relates more so to project management, which is an area that many engineers work in, especially later in their career. And so a few tasks that I'm responsible for is preparing our weekly report, reviewing and organizing critical documents, and updating the master action tracker. And so a lot of the work that I do requires me to have good communication skills, being adaptable to different environments and working with different people, strong organization skills, being able to prioritize tasks, and most importantly, being able to work collaboratively and as a team. And so all these skills that I listed aren't necessarily taught in school, but these skills can be developed through interactions in your everyday life, through your work habits at school, as well as any job experiences that you may have along the way. And so when I was in school, I was heavily involved in the retail and customer service industry to be able to support myself financially, and this is where I learned these skills. And so, for example, working in the customer service industry has helped me to deal with contractors and consultants in our project, and being able to converse with them on a professional level. And so these skills that I listed are what you call soft skills. And so I would highly recommend that you try to develop these skills as soon as you can, and use it as leverage, and to your advantage when you start applying and exploring jobs. And so I know that it can be quite difficult to be a woman in engineering, and it can seem quite daunting, but I think we all have the skills to be able to succeed. In the beginning, it was very difficult for me to work in a male-dominated team and environment, mostly because I didn't really know how to relate to them. But being curious and eager to learn is what really helped me. And so speaking up and asking questions helped me to succeed in my role, and showing my eagerness to learn also helped to kind of dissolve that gender bias. And so I hope this video was informative and helped you gain some insight in another area of engineering. If you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you.
Great hearing from an alumni from the Vancouver campus. But now I want to switch over to someone we actually have here today. So I'd like to welcome our first speaker of the event, Shola Fashanu. Shola is a recent mechanical engineering graduate from UBC Okanagan campus, and she's here today to share a little bit about her pathway to engineering. So her experience as a student and what she's up to now. At the end of Shola's talk, we'll have a couple minutes for questions. So just note that if you have any questions about admissions or really specific student experiences, that those might be best answered later on within the networking mentor groups, but still feel free to add your questions to the chat, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I want to turn it over and say welcome, Shola.
Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Shola. I just graduated in May from UBC Okanagan. I am actually from Kelowna and lived at home throughout my entire student experience, other than for co-op, and it was amazing. Kelowna is awesome. So is Vancouver, but I have a bit of a bias. So I'm just going to be going over a bit of my student experience, and I'm going through my photos too quickly. So I've shared some photos. The academics in my time at UBCO were difficult, but phenomenal and amazing. But I think my favorite part of my experience was all the extracurriculars that I was able to do through engineering. And I actually really surprised myself because when I was in high school, I did play on the soccer team, but I wasn't a super involved person. And I came to UBC and there were just so many clubs and so many opportunities. And I really found my people there. So it was phenomenal. So one of the main photos that I have there was that I actually ran with the cross country team for a year or so during my time at school. I went to a lot of conferences and competitions. So in the top corner, me, my best friend, Holly, I met her in the sorority that we have at UBC Okanagan for technical science, women in technical sciences. So that was actually us at a conference on this remote island we had to take a boat to, and it was with a bunch of other engineering students in leadership. And that was an opportunity that I had through UBCO and UBC because we had both campuses there and lots of other schools. Another one was a competition that I did. So I did it every single year of school. We have our engineering competition. So you have your regional and then your national competition. And I was super excited that after 3 years of trying, I went from the regional to the national competition. And that was me and my friends when we won our award. I was also super involved with Women in Engineering that we have at our campus, which was a phenomenal club that we have on both campuses that really helps support women in our in social ways and in academic ways. And then also we do volunteer work and things like that to this kind of thing where we talk to usually younger students, like middle school students. And then one of my favorite clubs that I was a part of was our Concrete Toboggan Club. And if you are lucky enough to have any current students in your breakout sessions that are in Concrete Toboggan, ask them so many questions because it's the best club ever. It's so fun. You get to apply engineering principles and really get some technical hands-on experience with our software that we do with school, with our calculations that we do with school. We have lots of mentoring from older students to help you get there. And then you actually do some of the manufacturing in the manufacturing lab as well. And then you get to build your toboggan. And that was our team, about 30 people that went to competition in Toronto. And there was 500 students at this competition from all across Canada. It's been going on since the 70s, and it is absolutely the most fun. The engineering department by far has the most camaraderie, spirit, and the most stuff going on. So I think that was one of my favorite parts, that I didn't pick engineering because of that, but it was a very happy accident that there was just these phenomenal experiences that I had. So I'll go to my next slide, which I'm going to touch on my experiences with co-op. If it's going to move, maybe not. Oh, there we go. Awesome. Okay. So I had 3 co-op experiences while I was at UBC Okanagan. I wasn't actually officially part of the co-op program, but I just was able to have support from the academic advisors to work my schedule to have that opportunity, because I decided to do co-op later in my time at school. So there's lots of options, lots of flexibility, and lots of support to make that happen. So the first picture, I'm in a hoodie, UBC hoodie, and I'm actually on a wind farm. So I got to work in Alberta, and I got to actually go on site and visit some wind farms and learn all about the technical side of that. And then, and I had an amazing opportunity doing that. The middle picture was one of my favorite co-op experiences. It was actually through our Engineers Without Borders at UBC. So one student per year through our Engineers Without Borders chapter gets picked to do a junior fellowship or a co-op experience in West Africa, or in Sub-Saharan Africa. I picked West Africa. I worked in Ghana. So I actually worked on developing an app that I'm talking way too fast. Oh my gosh. I just realized. Okay, I'll slow down. I'm just really excited about all this stuff. So I actually worked on developing an app. And this was one of our clients for the app. So it was getting small business owners in Ghana access to financial products and services through this app, because a lot of people didn't have formal banking. So we worked to make that possible and to allow them the opportunity to expand their businesses and then hopefully hire their community, and basically trying to create sustainable growth within these communities, rather than, rather than just going in and throwing money at people. We really tried to build these systems of empowerment, and it was a very cool opportunity. I did another co-op experience where I worked in the oil sands, and that was a really cool experience. One of the pictures here is me in my whole getup, where I'm going out in the field with my walkie-talkie and my gas sensors and all my hard hat, all that things. My favorite thing about the co-op opportunities is basically I got to go and test run all these different careers and figure out what I liked best. I think and I got to get paid for it, which was phenomenal. They pay you pretty well, and it can help with school, which is great. So I think that was my favorite part, is because now the job that I'm doing has nothing to do with any of my co-ops, but I was able to get some experience and figure out what I liked and what I didn't like. And okay, I will go on to my last slide here. So like I said, I graduated in May. I got my iron ring, which is every little engineer's dream. If you guys haven't heard about that, it's kind of a very old tradition of Canadian engineers that we get an iron ring when we graduate to signify our commitment to ethics in the profession and our duty to our community and to the environment. And that is a picture there of all of my friends getting our iron ring, and we put them all together. And it's super fun because you'll go out and see other engineers in the wild, and you'll run into them and you'll know what they do, and you start talking, and it's very fun. So I just started, I'm working in Kelowna, which so funny. When I went to university, I thought, I'm like, I gotta go to university. I've been at home long enough. And then I left for like a couple months. And then I came back and I was like, I actually love the Okanagan. It's amazing. So definitely, it's been so phenomenal to be able to come back and get a great job here in the Okanagan. I work for a consulting engineering firm. We do mechanical and electrical systems. We're called Smith and Anderson. I have a picture here, and I have no idea how I found this on Google because I didn't take this picture. This is a picture of actually my desk. I don't know if you guys can see, there's this guy standing here. My desk is actually right here. This was taken before I started working there because there's nothing on my desk, but I don't know why that's there, but we have the best office. It's right across from Gyro Beach, if anybody is from Kelowna in this chat. So this actually is when it's not covered in trees like it is right now with all the leaves. I can actually look at the lake all day. This is our office. So this is the window that I look out of right here. This is the road. And then right over here is the beach. It's great. I haven't really been around for when it's the summer, but apparently we always do Friday volleyball tournaments on the beach, which is great. And I have a great work culture. So it was actually interesting. When I graduated, I went back up to the oil sands for a little bit. And then I realized it wasn't a great fit for me and it wasn't my passion. So I switched it up and I started this job that I have now. And it's just such a great work culture. And especially there's everyone is from UBC Okanagan at my office, but there's also a good healthy amount of female engineers in my office, which is phenomenal. Our ratio is just getting better and better, and they're all UBC engineers. So it's fantastic. I really like the work that I'm doing. So I'm a mechanical designer, which for commercial buildings, I do some residential, but it's mostly just like townhomes, and then it's condos and that kind of thing. So I get to do all of the anything that makes you comfortable in a building. That's my job. So you get in the shower and the water is warm. Okay, you think about how did the water get there? Why is it hot? How did that all come together? If you're in your house and you're not freezing or you're not sweating, that's me. That's what I do. I actually didn't even know how much work goes into building a building and behind the scenes. And I really enjoy the work that I do. So a part of that too is that I get to go on site and boss around all contractors and tell them that they're doing it wrong. And I wish I had a picture of that, but I don't have any pictures of me on site yet. I've only gone like once, and I haven't yelled at anyone, but other people have yelled. I'll get there. So yeah, that is a bit about me. Super excited to answer any questions that you have about my time at UBC Okanagan or what I do now. Yeah, I'll pass it back to our wonderful hosts.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shola. So thanks for kind of prompting us too. So I have a couple questions that were already submitted in advance. So I'm going to kind of pull from those questions. But if anyone was listening and really feel like they have some good questions they want to ask Shola, please put it in the chat and I'll look to kind of go back and forth between some of the questions that we have here. We have a couple minutes. So I'll kind of just look back through both. So just to kick us off, Shola, it's kind of a two-part question for you. So the first part is, what are current barriers for women in engineering? And do you think UBC engineering has helped you prepare you to face those barriers?
Yeah, I think there are absolutely no barriers that we can't overcome in terms of like, obviously we are just as smart as all our men counterparts in the classroom. And we have lots of support at UBC. I think the biggest barrier that we have to overcome is sort of the culture that some men still have. So there's an overwhelming majority, I'd say right now, of men in our industry, in schools that have such a great willingness to include us and treat us as equals and treat us as we should be treated. But there are a couple that are not quite caught up or, that kind of thing. So I had experience with a group project while I was in school. And this was in my second year. And I was just like, this is not going well. This is the way that I'm being treated, the things that are happening. So it was really cool because I knew the culture and what was expected from what our professors had talked about and all the things that I knew I had resources. So I immediately went to talk to my professor first. They were phenomenal in supporting me. I went to talk to the counselors. We got it sorted. And I think this really helped me because it basically set the standard for what I expect in professionalism in my male peers. So I know, like, the first job that I started out of school, it wasn't a great fit for me in terms of the work that I was doing, but it also wasn't a great fit in terms of culture. So some of the people there were not, they were not treating me the way that I knew that I deserved to be treated. And so I feel like UBC helped prepare me, because I was able to step away from that situation and say, hey, I have the knowledge, I have a great education, I can go find another job. And I did within 2 weeks. So and the other company, when I was leaving, they were like, please don't go, we'll switch you to a different department and all these things. So I guess the best thing that UBC did for me was give me options and teach me that I didn't have to take any gumption from anyone, because that's not what our culture is anymore. Yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Awesome. Definitely. Thanks, Jola. Okay, so I see lots of questions coming through the chat, which are great. Some are very specific and some are really great for our mentors later on. And I think maybe you covered this a little bit, but it looks like it was a popular question. So just more specifically wondering why you decided to go into engineering.
Absolutely. I love that question. I don't think I had a great reason at the beginning. I think I kind of chose it a bit on a whim. I was a little bit, looking back now, I had a physics teacher that said, hey, you should maybe look into this. You'd be good at this. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't really know what engineers do. And then I came to something like this. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take it. And then I discovered all the amazing things about engineering afterwards. So you guys are already ahead of the curve, that if you think you've applied or you know what you're doing. The reasons that I am super glad that I picked engineering and the reasons that I chose to pursue it in the first place were maybe not the same reasons. But yeah, I'd say the reason to choose engineering is all of the options that it provides you. You will never be stuck not knowing what to do with your degree, because there's infinite opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks, Jola. And thanks for submitting that question. Okay, the next one I'm going to pull from the chat as well. And this one is obviously going to be more of a personal opinion, but what would you say is the most important skill for an engineer?
I think it's to have, this is kind of a bit of a strange one, but I think it's to have like passion or drive, like personally within yourself. So your time in school is going to test you. Once you get out into the field, you can take that passion and drive and do whatever you want with it. And there are so many things you can do as an engineer, and you will be very successful. But within school, they're going to test you. And because the work that we do is hard, and it takes a lot of, personal responsibility, because we're doing things that matter. So I know for me, when I was in school, I felt like the times that I was the most successful were when I had the vision and the drive, and it helped really motivate me to really work hard. So I'd say the most important thing is not being the smartest one in the classroom, or being able to sort of those when you think about, oh, you've got to be a genius to be an engineer. Like, no, you've got to realize that everyone can get through this program if you just stick with it. And so for me, it took me 6 years to graduate. I did co-op along with time with that. And then I did, I did a reduced course load. I have dyslexia, I have a learning disability. I was not top of my class. So, but I just had that drive, and I knew what I wanted to do at the end. And now I'm EIT.
Awesome. Thanks, Jola. Okay, so I'm going to pull one from another question that was submitted in advance. And so I want to know, what is the most surprising thing you've faced in engineering school and since you've started in your career?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think the most interesting thing that has come up in my schooling, for starters, and then within my career, is some of the design work that we did and the design work that I do now. It really, so one of the things we did was like a hovercraft in our second year, which was a very cool project. And we got to work with our peers and work together and have this competition. And it was kind of one of those things where I'd never had an opportunity in my life to really think critically about like something physical, about creating something, about getting something to work. So I think that was really cool. And now in my work, I have to think critically so much of my day about, okay, how, like, what are the pitfalls? What am I missing? What, if the system is going to work, what valve or what pressure sensor, what is missing from this? So I think that's been the most interesting thing. Is before, when I was in high school, I don't think I was that person. I wasn't the person that asks how and why. And then I came into engineering and it completely changed how I go about my life. And I find I look at things more interestingly now because I'm constantly asking why and how and the physics of it. And yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I have one more question for you, Shola. And it's kind of related to the last one that a student had asked, and it's more specifically to do with as a woman in engineering. So what were they, or did you have any fears going into a male-dominated field? And what is the reality once you started studying engineering and eventually working as an engineer? I know you kind of mentioned that a little bit about your work culture specifically, but maybe talk about kind of those fears and the reality in school and then the reality in your job.
Yeah. I think that's such a valid fear to have because we're always scared of the unknown. And I think there's a very big buzzword that kind of gets used a lot as imposter syndrome. So as women, we can sometimes, and I mean, men can do it too, not to generalize it, but it's a little bit general. I think that we oftentimes can have more self-doubt than our male counterparts. And we are conditioned sometimes less to raise our hand or to, so I definitely came into the program being like, oh, I'm not the smartest one here. Like I was sometimes in my high school, which is fun. You get to school and you realize you're not the smartest one there. There's so many smart people. And I did have some self-doubts, but I think once you sort of get into the program and you realize that everyone in the program has their own path. So there will be people that get 100% and they might go get their master's and their PhD. And maybe I'm not the person that gets 100% and stop doubting whether I deserve to be there because I have something else to contribute, that I'm maybe really good at talking to people. So my job in engineering will be something with project management and logistics and people, and maybe that's not their strength. So it did take some time to have a lot of self-doubt, talk to my friends, talk to my mom, have that reassurance, and also to have the reassurance that if I do have a problem, and like I talked about a little bit, if I do have a problem with people not treating me the way that I should be treated, that I don't have to deal with that alone, that there's support. And I mean, I also enjoyed, like, we had women in engineering on our campus. So I was surrounded by women all the time. So you definitely don't have to, be alone in your worries. There's so many opportunities to have a lot of women around you in the support system. And I think, now in my job, I am so fortunate to have a company that, values diversity, values its people. And I never have to doubt for a second whether I'm considered an equal in the company. So I guess if you have fears, know that if something does go wrong in school, you have the university, you have their support. They're very proactive. You have also a very big support system. And if something goes wrong in work, your work might not be like the university. It might not have all those things in place, but the university does prepare you so that you're a UBC engineer. You can take your ass elsewhere. You can go find a place that does support you and represent you. And so I hope that alleviates some people's fears. I made my best friends and they're all in engineering. So there are lots of women there too.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Shola. I just collectively from an organizing committee here with Erin along by my side, as well as I'm sure everyone else here, if we had an opportunity to do a nice applause, we would do that now. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming and sharing that input.
We are going to jump into our panels. We have two students that are here to kind of start talking about their student experience before we jump into our networking breakout room. So I'll turn it over to Tamara, who is going to host the panel, and to our two panelists.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. Good job, everyone. That sounded like a great challenge that is hard to do when we're online, but it sounds like some really good ideas came out of it. So I wanted to welcome our current undergraduate students who are part of our panel, Amiko and Sierra. They both have turned their cameras on now. I'm excited to have these students here to share a little bit more about their student experience today in this panel. And then just a reminder that after the panel, there'll be a little bit of time for Q&A, and then you'll be able to ask some really of those specific questions in those mentor breakout rooms. So first off, we're going to start with our students introducing themselves with their program and what they love the most about UBC Engineering or their engineering program. So Sierra, I'll pass it to you first. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Sierra, and I am finishing my final semester in civil engineering at UBCO. And I think that my favorite thing about UBC Engineering is how many opportunities there are available for us here, whether it's living on campus, all the clubs on campus, campus activities, and the co-op program especially. I've really appreciated that.
Awesome. Thanks, Sierra. And I'll pass it over to you, Amiko.
Hi everyone, my name is Emiko. I'm currently in second year at UBC Vancouver, and I'm in the dual degree program with arts and engineering. So I'm studying human geography and indigenous studies and engineering physics. And my answer is very similar to Sierra's. I really appreciate the opportunity I think at UBC Engineering you can really personalize your degree. And really make it your own and pursue what you're interested in through minors and design teams. And yeah, like Sierra said, many different opportunities. So that's my favorite part.
Awesome. Thanks, Amiko. Okay, so now we're going to get started with some of the questions that were submitted in advance through the registration form. So if you have questions now that you'd like to ask our panelists, Sierra and Amiko, feel free to put them in the chat. And I will, again, try and balance between some of our questions that we have and some that have come in. And just remember, all your questions are great questions, but some of them, if they're really specific, I'll save them until the mentor breakout rooms. So Sierra, I'll move back to you. So what are your passions that led you to choose engineering?
Thanks, Mara. Yeah, so I think ever since I was a kid, I always loved building things, and I was always really fascinated with like arts and crafts and building and all sorts of stuff like that. And as I got into high school, I really loved lots of STEM, like math, physics, especially physics. And I think what inspired me to go into engineering is that it's such a good mixture of both of those things. I think like, especially where I'm in civil, like I get a lot of, ability to use my creative side to tackle problems, as well as using like analytical scientific skills that you learn in school. And I think that if you're really torn, like kind of between the two fields, it's like a really beautiful mixture of the two. And so that's why I chose engineering.
Thanks, Sierra. Okay, I have a different question for Amiko. So Amiko, how conducive is UBC engineering environment for women and non-gender conforming individuals?
Yeah, I can only really speak to my own experience as a woman, but I found it to be super comfortable. And at UBC Engineering, many of my closest friends in engineering are women or non-binary, and so I've been able to find that community, and I found it, I would say, quite easily. And I also feel that I'm really well represented in the faculty and professors, which also is a great thing that makes me feel super welcome and safe at UBC.
Thanks, Amiko. Okay, so a student that's come in the chat, and I actually saw a very similar question, if not the same question, for Shola. So I'm going to put it to Sierra, but one of the questions is a broad one, but what are your biggest struggles? So maybe you could talk a little bit about your school experience, but it also could be like living on campus or commuting to campus, all those types of things. So Sierra, I'll just hear from you first about those struggles.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, very broad, but I'll try my best. Yeah, so I think, yeah, as far as like, maybe I'll just kind of like focus on campus and stuff too. I think one of my biggest struggles is, and I think a lot of people experience this, is kind of the time management, especially when you come from high school. You have a lot of time, and teachers really kind of like help you along in a different way. Here at university, you're free to make your own choices, which is amazing, and it's like a really cool new experience. But you also have to know how to manage your time a bit better that way. So that's a struggle that I've had for sure, like living on campus. And I think just another thing is sometimes I think that it's a little hard for people to push themselves outside of their comfort zone on campus. But that's another thing that I would totally recommend doing is like going out there, putting yourself out there and trying really hard to make friends and get involved in the opportunities on campus, because that's what's going to make your experience so special here at UBC.
Awesome. Thanks, Sierra. Okay, Amiko, I'm going to go back to one of the questions that was pre-submitted. So, Amiko, how much free time do you have outside of class, eating, and sleeping? And what are some of the ways engineering students can spend their time on campus?
This is such a great question. I mean, it goes off of the previous comment from Sierra about time management. I actually have found I do have a fair bit of free time where I'm able to pursue a lot of the things that are sort of outside of purely just academics. I'm in a cappella group at UBC Vancouver, and I spend a lot of time trying to get out and explore the city. UBC, the Vancouver campus at least, is in such a beautiful location. You're so close to a variety of beaches and also just a kind of quick bus away from the mountains. So I also try to go down and hang out at the beach with my friends. Occasionally I'll go skiing. And then there's just tons of clubs that I think students spend their time doing, sports teams. Would highly recommend you to go on the UBC website, just check out that huge list. There's so much that you can get involved in on campus.
Thanks, Amiko. Okay, back to you, Sierra. I have one more from the chat here. So this one was submitted before as well, but if you're able to, could you tell us a little bit about your very first engineering design?
First engineering design. Okay, I think in first year we took this project, like SolidWorks design project, and you get to learn this really cool modeling software. And so I think that was probably the first project that I worked on in my very first year. And it was really cool because what we did is we modeled all these parts separately. And it was for a big train, including the engine, the whole thing. And we put it all together and it was all these moving parts, and we set it to music and a video. And I had a lot of first year projects like that where you got to model something, come up with a design and put it together, model it. You could, a couple ones that I got to build prototypes for as well. So yeah, lots of opportunity for projects.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, so there's some really, really great questions in the chat. Like I mentioned, there's one question about quantum physics. And so that is a really good question to ask the mentor that's in your room. And if your mentor in your room doesn't know the answer, you can pop back into the main area and we'll be able to pair you up with a student that can. Same with the questions about biomed engineering, same with questions about IB. Those can all kind of be asked in your mentor groups or back in the main page. So to wrap up the panel, I have one more question left for each of Amiko and Sierra. So Amiko, we'll start with you. What is the one piece of advice you wish you'd heard in high school when deciding if UBC engineering was right for you?
Obviously, I'm very happy with my choice, so I don't wish anybody had told me anything super different, because I'm really happy with where I've ended up. But I do think sort of two things. If you have sort of made up your mind, or you feel like you've made up your mind, like nothing's set in stone, so don't worry so much about, I worried, I think, a lot about the magnitude of the decisions that I was making. I felt like, oh my gosh, this is going to set me on a path that's going to totally determine the rest of my life. And in many ways that can be the case, but also things can always change. And I think that, yeah, your decision's not set in stone. You can come here, you might end up switching into a different specialization. There's just, yeah, it's not as sort of world-ending stressful as I think I felt that it was in high school. So yeah, just be confident in your decision and be okay with the fact that if you're not like 100% confident, I think that's okay.
Thanks, Amiko and Sierra. Just to reiterate the question again, what's the one piece of advice that you wish you heard in high school when deciding if UBC engineering was right for you?
Yeah, I think that I had such a great experience here, and just like Amiko, like I wouldn't have done anything differently. But I think that one thing that I wish I knew sooner, which would have made me feel a little bit better, I think, about coming to university, is just having a like someone tell me that it's okay to get out there and it's okay to be yourself, and find friends, because here at university, like you're being yourself is the best way to find your friends. Like I live with my best friends that I met in first year, and those relationships are something that I'm going to carry with me through my entire life. So, you know, be yourself and take as many opportunities as you can. Get out there, join those clubs. If you're feeling a little nervous about doing something, maybe try and push yourself to do it anyways, and give it a shot. Keep your mind open, just kind of like Amiko was saying, right? So yeah, along the same lines.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to Amiko and Sierra for being part of our panel today. We're going to go jump into our networking breakout room. So this is going to let you speak with our current students. We have more current students here with us today, just more than Amiko and Sierra, the ones that you saw in some of your rooms before. And so this gives you an opportunity to chat with them directly. Before we open the rooms, I just want to remind everyone that if you have questions about admissions, academic advising, course registration, the current students aren't going to answer those questions, but you're welcome to leave the breakout room like I had mentioned and come back into the main room. And myself and Erin we will be able to help answer some of those questions.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope that you got to chat a little bit with some of our current students. Hopefully today helped you learn more about why engineering is an amazing career for those who want to change our world, whether it's through sustainable design, medical research, to improve our health, or innovations to make our world a better place. Engineers are working on teams to solve problems, and we hope that you'll join in to help make the world a better place. Thank you all so much for attending our event today. I hope that you enjoyed connecting with our current students, hearing from our alumni, learning more about UBC engineering. After today, if you'd like to connect with more of our students, you can do so by using our chat with a student feature, which I will pop into the chat, that link for you. And so that's a way to kind of keep the conversation going. But I want to say a huge, huge thank you to all of our volunteers that were here tonight, spending their Wednesday night. I know a lot of you have midterms this week, so thank you so much for being here to help talk to our prospective students that are interested in engineering. And a huge thank you to all of our attendees for helping be part of this event and learn more about engineering. And we're so glad that you were able to come tonight. So if anyone does have any other questions about admissions, I am happy to stick around for a few more minutes to help answer those. Otherwise, thank you so much for attending. Have a great rest of your evening, and we hope to see you at UBC soon.